Stimulus payments are slowing down tax refunds for millions of Americans, but as Tiffany Craig reports, that's not the only reason for the delays.
Maybe the early bird doesn't get the worm. The Washington Post is reporting that a lot of early filers still waiting for refunds did their taxes on the first day of the season, February 12th. There are nearly 7 million returns that haven't been processed. That's more than 3 times the amount as the same time last year. Why? More complicated tax returns because of incorrect stimulus payments, child tax credits, and changing tax rules to help unemployed workers. The Government Accountability Office, or GAO, is warning of a number of other IRS issues, including a smaller staff, glitches with the Where's My Refund tracker, and more returns that need to be reviewed manually. The good news is the tracker is fixed, and you can access it at irs.gov/Where's My Refund or through the app, which is IRS To Go. And remember, Texans are getting more time this year to do taxes because of that winter storm. The deadline to file and pay is 2 months later than normal, June 15th.